Happy Saturday, everyone. Welcome to day 8 of our virtual summit. And today we have here Carla Harrison. Say hi to the people, Carla.
Hello, everyone.
Listen, today you're in for something special. It's a treat. Carla's amazing. And we're going to talk about some great stuff that's going to help you today. And you might hear yourself in the topics that we talk about. But before we get into that, Carla, can you tell the people about yourself?
Hello, everyone. Happy holidays to you. Hope you're having a good holiday season and you're ready for 2025. My name is Carla Harrison. I am a licensed clinical professional counselor in the state of Maryland. I was an IT person doing everything in the software lifecycle for 30 years and then decided to live a life that fulfills my purpose and my dreams, which is helping people heal. So I
Mhm.
walked away from a good little government contracting job and started my own practice in 2022, Intentional Hope and Healing Counseling Services, so that I can be a compass to help people with their healing journey.
Listen, you said you was there for 30 years?
I did it for 30 years. Yeah, met
30.
my husband there, met my best friend doing computers, like all of these beautiful people that I collected along the way in my life, and then
Yeah.
walked away from it because there comes a time in life when you have to say, if I have to do something for the rest of my life, do I want it to be about paying the bills or do I want it to be about purpose work? And for me, I wanted to live in my purpose, and my purpose has always been helping people, talking to people. People would confide in me, trying to be a voice of reason, but a safe space. So,
Mhm,
yeah, it
mhm.
was time.
So two things I have, one of this is we're on day 8. And so there's a common theme over all the days. And it refers back to what you just said is purpose and living in your purpose, doing the thing that you're purposed to do. Because when you do that, like you wake up ready to go. Like Monday is you excited for Monday because it's like, oh my gosh, what we get to do, who we get to talk to, who am I going to impact today? You
Mhm.
almost have to tell yourself to stop working. Like even before we did this call, like yesterday, we talked about. She was like talking about one of the things that she would tell people to do is to rest. And so, even this morning, I was walking out the house, and my friend was like, you leaving again? Like you need to sit down somewhere." And I was like, "And do what?"
Mhm.
When I sit down, then what am I do? Just sit?
Right.
No, like
Yeah.
there's so much to do. You want me to just sit down
Yeah.
and do nothing? So, because I feel like I'm like living in my purpose. So it's just like every moment of my day is legit mapped out. And like I need to like a little bit more time for some rest. But you know,
Mhm.
I be sleeping 8 hours a day. How much rest do I need? But I'm gonna do some stop stuff. But
But
one of
this
the other
this
things.
is that part, right? When they say if you had to do the work that if you didn't get paid to do it, you would still show up, right? Yeah. So like you would still show up to do what you're doing. I would still be somewhere volunteering because there's going to be some spaces and places where people cannot get the care and the help that they need. So let's just go ahead and give it to them and take it to them.
I
Yeah.
love that. So, how did you transition from IT? Like, what happened that made you transition from IT to doing what you're doing now?
Real talk. So the thing is, I can remember. Okay, so I was a veteran, right? And I
Hmm.
was in avionics maintenance. I did 4 years active duty, 2 years reserve in the United States Air Force. And I remember coming out the military using my GI Bill, and I went to school for IT because at the time computers were new. Like every
Hmm.
people didn't have workstations at home. You still had mainframes in the offices. We were just getting computers in the squadrons. And I had a sergeant that was just like, if you're going to get out, you need to go look into these computers, right? So being a young girl, 20 something years old, 22, 23, I'm like, okay, let's check out these computers. But I was in school for IT, still dreaming about helping people with mental health. So,
Hmm.
I did what I was told to do in that time in the early 90s because that's where people were making money. But my heart was still on one day I want to open up an orphanage or one day I want to help people. So, I after graduating, I found paperwork from like Bowie back in 2000, literally the year 2000, where I was looking at the curriculum for counseling
Wow.
and looking up all of these things. And life, kids came and life came and it got deferred, but it took a bad day in traffic. I
Mm.
got I got to work. It took me 2.5 hours to get to work. And when I came through the door, I said, you know what? If I have to do this till I'm 60 something years old, this is not it. This is not going to
Mm-mm.
work for me. And I felt the spirit say to me, like, if you could do anything that you wanted to do, what would it be? And I said, I would help people.
Mhm.
And it was literally like spiritual prompting. Call
Mhm.
this university. Didn't you hear that they have a veterans program, a veterans discount? Call this, do this. And I just followed the steps. And I heard the prompting and I followed the steps. And I went to, this religious university that honors veterans and signed up and took a few courses at a time while working full time and raising babies, and it happened, and I didn't rush it, right? Because I had job security, so this was the dream, and I knew that I'm finally like working towards the dream, so I didn't rush it. Took my time, and then the dream is it's here.
I love that. You didn't rush it. You followed the steps, the prompting, and you just now you're loving what you do.
I do. Yeah, I do.
That is beautiful.
Hmm.
That is like music, right? If I can't sing, but if I could, like that would be like a beautiful song for someone. For someone, one of y'all out there. Um, I love that. So,
So that was the easy part of the transition.
oh, okay. So there's more, but wait, there's more. Okay, go ahead.
So then the leaving the job, right? So COVID came, which slowed everything down. So COVID was the first time that I actually got to stay home, take care of my babies, take care of my husband, like cook like I wanted to cook, learn how to make new recipe. Like COVID slowed everything down. So
Mhm.
then going back to work after COVID, now I'm already in school. I just graduated. I know this thing is going to happen. I didn't know when, but I was very clear on if Lord, if you gave me this vision, you've allowed me to graduate. I'm working under someone else as a therapist. You're going to let me know when it's time. And I kept hearing the promptings, be ready by this day, be ready by
Mhm.
this day. And as I got closer to the day, things happened at work, contracts shifted at work, the whole contract was ending, jobs were being taken away from the contract. So when they called me into the office to give me what they thought was bad news, I was laughing because he had already told me be ready by September of 2022. And the job ended August 17th of 2022.
Wow.
But also, I was in a company that when I interviewed with them, they knew I was in school to be a therapist. They knew I wasn't going to be a therapist for them because they didn't have therapist jobs. So they were even so supportive.
Mm.
For a job, are you ready? What are you going to do? And just even the way that they nurtured me and poured into me as I was preparing to transfer out into full time therapy with their support
Mhm.
was another part of the transition.
Oh, I love that. I love that they supported you in the transition.
And I didn't have to hide it.
Mhm.
People wanted me to hide. Well, you going to tell them? When you have the dream, you a lot of people want to protect it, but when there is something that is for you, people don't get
Mhm.
to take that away.
Mm-mm.
You get to share and you get to walk in it and you get to claim it and say, no, this is what it's going to look like and it's going to be, and you get to live the dream. And I had support doing it.
What's the balance though? Because I think there's a balance between because I feel like I was saying everything too, right? Like I was telling all the people, all the things, and I was like, now that I'm like, okay, there has to be balance, or like, so how did you know what was okay to share, and then what were things that you should probably? Because I think some other people like. Because we're not living a secret. We're not living in like these things, but there
Yes.
should be some things that you hold and some things that you're like not hiding because they're so.
I wasn't at work going, I'm leaving for therapy, right? Y'all know I'm like, I wasn't telling everyone this, but there were people in my circle. Like
Mhm.
I had a software development team and I was a scrum master. So there were people that knew I had been in school. So they were like,
Mhm.
what's the plan?
Mhm.
And I'm like, the plan is that when it's time for me to go, I'm going to know. So if you
Mhm.
really care about me, you can just pray that I'll be okay.
Ooh, huh,
So
yes.
just keep me lifted in prayer.
Mm,
When it's time for me to know, I'll know. And they're like, you don't know. And I'm like, because I really didn't. And
mhm,
I said, the beauty is that I'm not pressed. The beauty is that when it is time, I'm going to know it's time. The
mhm.
doors are going to open for me to do this, and I'm going to be able to walk in it. And they're like, oh. And no one, I didn't have the haters because I don't hang around the haters. So for me, the balance is even in who I select to be in my inner circle.
Yes, honey, come on.
I'm pretty good at pushing away the negative energy because my talk is too positive. And normally a lot of negativity can't hang with the positive talk. So they're gonna be like, oh yeah, that's that girl to be talking about prayer. That's that girl and I'm okay with that because everybody doesn't have to be my people. So that's how I manage the balance is I'm protective of my peace and my space.
I love that.
And because I'm protective of my peace and protective of just being a person of integrity and a person of character, and I want people like that in my space, the other stuff doesn't seep through. And then there's protection all around because the people that I hang with are not running their mouth talking.
Oh,
We're
I love
all building up, praying for each other's dreams, encouraging each other. Hey, I know a girl that's doing this. Do you want me to hook you up with her? I know a gentleman that did this. Do you want to talk to him? So there's more collaboration because we all understand that the top is flat. It's not a point. So I don't have to push you from the top. I get to pull you up to the top with me because it's flat.
Oh, I love that. Again, common themes, even though we're talking about something completely different. Tina Green, we talked yesterday, and one of the things that we talked about was the competition and not living in the space of competition. And when you are just freely giving, you will freely receive. And when you have something that somebody needs, you like sharing that information, you're not hoarding it. And I think that when we get to a place where that is the place that we live, and everybody might not get there, but that's just not your people. And when you realize, it's almost like now I'm so much more aware of when someone's like, I could feel the hoarding. I could feel like, I don't want to really share that information with you. Or I think if I give this to you, you're going to do more. I don't know what they'd be thinking. Yeah. And then just be like, oh, okay, you're not my people. Right. And that's okay. And like you said, but I feel like I was in the space last year of figuring out who my people were. Yeah. Because I didn't know, because I felt like I could save the world. I legit, I would be like, I'm going to change the world one person at a time. And I haven't changed that mindset. But I'm not giving of myself like I was to the people that are not my people. But before, anybody, because how am I going to change the world if I'm not giving myself to all the people? But they didn't know what to do with all of it, so they didn't value it, and so then I was depleted.
There you go. That's where that topic is about to come up, right? Because when you give too much, and for me, I believe in assignments. Like everyone is not your assignment. So when you are being everything to everyone, and you're not checking, is this person even my assignment? Am I even supposed to be on this part of the journey with this person? Am I even supposed to be a part of this person's journey? Or is someone else supposed to fill this role?
Can we sit there for a second? Can we just sit there for 1 second? Everybody is not your assignment. And so if we're called, because I feel like one of my purposes is to impact people's well-being in whatever area of life that is. And so if I believe that my purpose is to impact people's well-being, how do I know? I'm learning now, but for the people out there, how do they know whether somebody is their assignment or not?
When there's resistance.
Say more.
When there's resistance. What I have learned from myself, right? And then what I see is in, again, the circle that I hang in, it works for them. Let's say you're trying to help someone, right? Everything about us is resources, right? So when we're talking about burnout, right? It's really about you have these resources and they're not being allocated properly. So as a result of us not allocating the resources, there is this fatigue and tired and burnout and emotional feelings of distress and irritability, anger, not understanding why you are becoming distant or isolating. So burnout leads to all of these things because we have nothing left to give. So when I understand that if you're not my assignment, not talking about walking around smiling, being kind, because we can do that doesn't cost much. But in terms of the investment, when there's resistance in the investment, meaning it is hard, it is challenging, me and this person are not linking up, there's just something, there is just resistance. Sometimes we have to take a step back and go, why is there so much resistance? Why is it so hard for me to get into this space with this person? Why is the collaboration so hard? Is it possible that this really is not supposed to be? Not that life is easy, not saying you don't have challenges. Challenges are different than the resistance. Resistance is like an energetic force of something telling you, girl, you about to bump your head a few more times and know that this ain't what you're supposed to be doing. So when there's too much resistance, it's taking that step back and saying, Am I even supposed to be doing this? Is
Mm-hmm.
it really the time? Is it the person? Is it the time? Is it the project that I'm supposed to be doing? Sometimes it's not the right thing, and sometimes it's not the right season.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's good.
Sometimes it's not the right season because we're still being prepared and equipped, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a part of it is that resistance. And I have learned that when I'm trying to do something in my own strength and it
Mm-hmm.
is too hard, I either have to go and go, okay, God, what we doing? Is it, but then when it's still too hard, am I supposed to be doing this? No, you weren't called to do that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you were called to sit with it, plan it. Sometimes you were called to actually think about who you're going to invite in to do it with.
Mm-hmm.
Telling everybody, thinking everybody was supposed to be a part of this idea.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, resistance, when anything is too challenging, I sit still. We're
Mm-hmm.
scared of being still.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I last year I had somebody in my life that would say those very similar things that you're saying to me right now about, people not being in assignment, the resistance, and I started paying attention.
Mm,
And so a lot of times people can say things, but they go over your head. But when you like sit with the thing and
mhm,
start paying attention to what resistance really looked like,
mm.
I, I was able to be like, oh, you've been resistant the whole time. And I've been forcing something on you that you didn't even want.
Yes.
And so I'm not frustrated because I'm gonna bring everybody with me because I know, listen, I know. I have no idea where I'm going, but I know it is going, we are going somewhere.
That
And I
part.
want to take the people with me.
Yeah.
Right? Like I want to bring, that Harriet Tubman song,
Yes.
right? And so I want to bring all the people. I want to, when I say all the people.
Everybody.
And so I'm like telling all the people
Yeah.
about, listen, let's do this and let's
Mhm.
collaborate in that. And they like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Or
Yeah.
it's Saturday. I'm not having no
Mhm.
meeting on Saturday.
Mhm.
I got to watch my love and whatever. Oh, I got to watch my show.
Like,
And I'm just like, but there's so much more. Like,
mm,
come with me. Like, I'm just, and so then it's like when I stopped doing that,
mhm,
the people that was supposed to come
mhm.
showed up,
That's it.
right?
Because resistance is quiet. Like resistance is not always the person that's fighting and screaming.
Right.
Resistance is also the person not responding.
Yes. Right.
And then you notice you're calling, you're inviting, you're telling them about the meeting, you're telling them about the opportunity. How about I put up your part of the investment? So then when you go, wait a minute, this is silent resistance where I'm still doing all this work and wearing myself out. And there are so many other people that they might not be the people we initially thought would be a part of whatever this thing is, this dream, this collaboration, this idea. But the right people will come to us, and it could be in a simple conversation where something comes up and it's like, wait a minute, what? And then you find your people,
Mm.
and it's effortless.
Oh my God. When I say effortless, I'm doing so much more because I'm also a visionary and creative and all that great stuff.
Yes.
And so I have to slow myself down.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
someone also told me it was like, everything that come to your head don't mean you got to do it right now, right?
mhm,
Just create
mhm.
a list. So now I have a nice little list in
Wow.
my Google Doc
Yes.
that I
Love
share
Google
with
Docs.
that I share with one of the people that like
Mm.
that appreciate my random thoughts. And they said instead of you texting me every time you have a thought, because I feel like they might get lost in the text messages.
Right.
Um, can you just create a Google Doc and every time you have a thought, just put it there.
Isn't
Just
it
put it
beautiful?
there and then we can prioritize it. But
Right.
we don't have to do it all now. Can we just focus on let's get good at the one thing? And I'm like, you're right. And so I'm just now so excited about the list
Love
that I have because there's so many more things left to
that.
do. And so, but they're not like shutting down the ideas. They're not saying, right. And I feel like I'm getting 8 hours of sleep.
Mhm,
Like it is like I go to bed at 10 o'clock every night. And
mm.
all the people that I'm around know, oh, it's bedtime. Even Christmas time, either Christmas
Yeah,
movies even get cut off at 10 o'clock because I need to get my 8 7 8 hours of sleep. And it
that's
is
so smart though. That's so smart.
amazing,
Yeah.
right? But the way that I was burnt out, honey,
Same here. Like, so we were talking about the process, right? And again, leaving former position that I had and the career that I had, right? So now coming into therapy, there was this, the people, and again, another to what you said earlier, like knowing who to say what to, or
Mhm.
even understanding that, like, when you have a dream, you don't need other people's buy-in for the dream. You don't
Mhm.
need them because people say stuff and they mean well, but they'll say stuff that can kill the dream. So it's,
Mhm.
why do you want to listen to people's problems all day? Why are you going to take a pay cut? Why would you go into a field where you're not making the money, not knowing what money I can make as a therapist or what money I will be able to make as a speaker? They don't know these things. They're just
Mhm.
going with their limited knowledge. So
Mhm.
then coming into this field, there was work. Like, my schedule was packed because now I'm starting this practice and I can't say no to anyone. And the schedule was like 9 to 10 clients a day. And it wasn't until, I was starting to get burnt out in the first 3 months, home by myself, didn't have a team, wasn't going to meetings, sitting here processing all day, which I love doing, but it was too much.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until I talked to a therapist and I called in tears, like, I don't know what's going on. And I'm feeling like I need to talk to somebody. And she was like, well, what are you doing for yourself? Are you going to Starbucks? Are you leaving the house? And I realized I was literally not leaving the house. Like, it would be 3, 4 days before I was leaving the house, not getting sun. And I was experiencing the burnout because
Mhm.
of the fear, right?
Mm.
And again, the resistance, it was so hard, and it didn't need to be that hard. Once I was able to remove fear and
Mhm.
trust that this position is going to provide me with everything I need.
Mhm.
I might not have everything. I might not take 3 cruises this year. That ain't saying in 2026 I'm not going to.
Right.
But
Right.
while you're building the dream, be willing to say, I have to say no to some things, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Everything that I need is going to be provided for. So
Mhm.
I do not have to work myself to death trying to satisfy fear or overcome this fear and feel overwhelming feelings and
Mhm.
anxiety. I
Mhm.
get to do something that's healthy. I get to make sure there's time for me. I
Mhm.
get to say no to some new clients that I'm sorry, I'm at capacity, right? So even for myself, I had to understand that burnout was real. Burnout can come
Mhm.
really fast when you're spiraling or trying to be in control. So in control,
Mhm.
and I had to release the control and go with the trust that, like, if this is what I was called to do, then I can do it.
Mhm.
I can do it with boundaries and with balance.
Mhm.
All will be well. My clients will have a better version of me. My family will have a better version of me. My friends will actually see me because I allow
Mhm.
myself to come out and fellowship.
Mhm.
The community gets to see me, right? So when there was that balance and boundaries, I was able to show up much differently and better for everyone, including myself.
Mhm. So when you started saying no to even probably people that you normally say yes to, because a lot of times when we think about transformation or transitioning or doing different things for ourselves, people feel like we're leaving them behind. So while we are starting to feel better,
Mhm,
sometimes the people in our lives are like, now they feel um isolated or left out or something because you're now taking care of yourself.
mhm.
Like, did you feel that when you were when you realized like you were burnt out and need to make some different decisions? Did you experience any of that?
I didn't, but also what I understand is that I'm not people's savior. Right. So
Mhm.
when I remove ego, it's not I'm the only person that can help you. So
Mm.
being a resource means that not I can be a resource as an individual, but I can also be a resource and refer you out to someone else.
Mhm.
I can be a resource and say, hey, I'm not able to help you, but have you checked out this podcast? I'm not able to help you, but here's
Yes.
some apps that can help you do some breathing in the morning so that you can regulate. I'm
Mhm.
not able to help you, but did you ask dad? Could he take you here? You know,
Mhm.
so sometimes that savior mentality or that I want to be everything to everyone causes
Mhm.
us to not know when we can actually say no as a whole, as everyone says, it's a complete sentence with an exclamation
Mhm.
point. It's not
Mhm.
no with a but and no because, but the no is just a no. And
Mhm.
it's done in a gentle way. And even with my no, I will still support you from a distance. I can still support you and not come. I can say, did you want me to come by a day or two later and help clean up, or did you want me to bring something a day or two before the event? I can't make the event. So being
Mhm.
a resource, we have to look at, like, what are, again, with our resources, what are unique ways that we can be the resource to a person and it not
Mhm.
have to drain us and deplete us.
So can we pretend for a second Okay, let's pretend that there are people out there that do have that. What do you call it? Hero,
Like a savior complex. You
a
think
savior
so
complex.
we ain't Jesus? No, I'm not.
No,
Like I
Jesus.
am not your all in all. There is someone that is your all in all, and it's not me. But that's our ego. Sometimes our ego has us wanting to be this thing where
Mhm.
people need us. No, it's not. It does feel good to be needed, but not to the point where it's at a detriment of us, and then we're having people hostage because they need
Hmm.
us so much.
So if we have, what will be the thing that you would tell people that have what you said that you didn't,
A
that you don't have?
savior,
Yeah.
to ask yourself, so God forbid if the worst case scenario came and you weren't here, do you
Mm.
want these people handicapped without you?
My
Do
God.
you want these people sitting around not knowing what to do because nothing don't tomorrow's not promised anyone?
Oh my
Is,
gosh.
is that how you treat people you love?
Mm.
Or
Oh,
do you
wait,
allow
wait. Don't go. You went past that real fast. Okay, let's go back and let's say that a little bit slower, right? Because you
yeah,
talked about.
I'm sorry.
Let's no. Say because I think people need to hear what you just said. So say that again.
I mean the whole thing, if God forbid something happened,
Uh huh.
do you want people to be handicapped or not know what to do without you? Do you want people, and I mean when I say handicap, what I'm saying is unable to
Yes,
support
the
themselves,
function.
unable to do for
Yes.
themselves, unable to function because you're not here.
But some people like that and they do want that. But I think that's maybe where
That's
you're
a
talking about the
disservice.
ego comes in
Yes.
because they want to only be the person that can provide that solution to that person.
That's for your ego to feel good about yourself.
Mhm.
That's not coming from a place of love. That's not coming from a place of healthy relationships.
All right, healthy relationships. I feel like we about to go left. Okay, let's stay. But let's talk about it real fast. Healthy relationships. What
Hmm.
does that look like? How do we create that like that non-codependent,
Yeah, that
right?
codependency. Yeah.
How do we start to begin to create those healthy boundaries? Because I feel like when you're codependent, you can be burnt out too. I feel like there's so many different.
Almost. And there's interpersonal burnout. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
interpersonal burnout is the burnout in relationships because of codependencies, attachment issues, right? Some people are anxious attached, right? And
Mm-hmm.
attachments come from childhood of how we were nurtured as children. So when the baby cries, do the parents come and soothe right away? Does the baby have to lay there and cry themselves to sleep because everyone's too busy? So then you have the babies that cry all the time and become those needy people that I need you to love me and can you love me and can you show up for me? But then you have those self-soothers that learn ain't nobody coming, so let me play with this rattle, let me suck on this rattle like it's giving me some food. Those people
Mm-hmm.
can be a little more avoidant where they don't
Mm-hmm.
try to attach. So even in all of those things, like relationships are so multifaceted. But
Mm-hmm.
what we have to understand is like to have those healthy relationships, it's I can spend time with you and I'm good. And if I'm not spending time with you, I'm still good. When I'm around you, I'm gonna have a good time. But if you don't come on the trip, I'm not sitting there talking about you the whole trip. I can have fun with somebody else and learn that there is life outside of my time with you. You
Yes.
know, it's I can be there for you, but I still may have to be there for others. So I have to allocate time for that. But
Mm-hmm.
I really have to be able to allocate even time for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And as women, from societal, cultural, spiritual, all of these different areas, there has been an expectation that you give until you have nothing left to give.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what we're seeing right now is people are finally saying, I'm not okay. I'm
Mm-hmm.
tired. My relationships are not healthy because they're one sided. I'm not a person that believes you do anything to receive, but I do think you have to be aware when you're never receiving.
Mm-hmm.
Have to be
Mm-hmm.
have to be aware when things are not balanced,
Yes.
right? Because we talk a lot about boundaries, right? And the boundaries are that protection. For some, it looks like a brick wall, or for some, it can be a fence, like a fence you see at a stable, where you get to see through it because you don't want to keep the wrong people out. So you want them to be
Mm-hmm.
able to come in, right? But the boundaries protect us, but that balance, balance, we're body, soul, and spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I compare it to like a three-legged stool, and if you're not nurturing all three parts, it's wobbly. So
Mm-hmm.
we have to have balance as well.
My
in
gosh.
business.
You said so much. You said so much. One of the things that stood out to me is the balance in um early we talked about freely you give, right? And as you're freely giving, and you should also be receiving. And so there's an imbalance when you're the only one giving. But I think it goes back to paying attention.
Hmm.
And I think when you're burnt out, you're not paying attention
No.
because you're going on empty. And
Yes.
so you wake up every morning
Hmm.
like exhausted. You
Hmm.
don't wake up excited to wake up. You're like, oh my God, I have to go to work again. Oh my God, I gotta feed these kids. Oh my God, I gotta, whatever with your husband or what your wife or whatever. So you wake up with like the dread of the doing. As
Hmm.
opposed to being like, oh my gosh, I get to, ooh, what am I gonna make my kids for breakfast? Ooh, what am I gonna make my husband for make sure he has lunch? Like it's no longer like the excitement to do the things that you wanted to do because you're in a place of like nothingness, like you're depleted. And one of the things that we've been talking about even throughout like the practical things is I want to spend a little bit more time this session talking about the practical things that people can do
Hmm.
to first identify that they're burnt out. A lot
Yeah.
of times they just feel like they're in this place and they cannot get out. They
Hmm.
don't see a way out. They hate their job. They're irritated with their spouse every morning.
Yeah.
And so, what is the first step?
I think it's kind of self-awareness, right? So there are different reasons why we see burnout or why burnout exists. Some
Mhm.
can be like that there are these unrealistic expectations. So
Mhm.
if you were the child in your family that was always the one to bring peace, right? So even in the hierarchy in families or siblings, and there might be the one that everyone goes, oh, that's just how brother or sister does it. They never show up, and then you're the one that everyone depends on. So sometimes you have to say, is that an unrealistic expectation? Like,
Mhm.
should it be expected that no matter what's going on in this family, I am always the person
Mhm.
that brings in order, brings in peace, that shows up for everyone? And what causes us as people to not say to the family that is not fair,
Mhm.
right? It's saying out your hurts, it's being vulnerable, it's being transparent. This is not going to work for me. I understand this is how we've done it, but some of you are going to have to take responsibility, right? Even in our, we come into marriages sometimes with these ideas of how women should show up, or I want to cater to this person, or I want to do this, and you do get to do those things. But then when it's causing burnout, it's that conversation of, hey babe, I realize that I am trying to make breakfast every day, but I'm running behind and I'm really feeling the pressure of it. Could you
Mhm.
do breakfast maybe on the weekends and I do the weekdays? So it's being able to
Mhm.
speak up for yourself and asking, where do these unrealistic expectations come from? And the beauty is that we get to adjust expectations.
Oh, that's so good.
We get to adjust the expectation, and it's okay to say
So
this is what we expected, but we're going to pivot a little bit because that's not really working for everybody.
you got to speak up for yourself.
Yeah, let someone know that it's a problem.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
what I love, like when we talk about boundaries, what I love is that the minute you tell people your boundaries
Mhm.
and they dismiss them, that tells you what the person thinks of you.
Ooh. I was just about to. It's like you were in my mind. I was just about to ask you, what if they like are like you tripping, like you doing too much, like.
Yeah. So if I'm telling you I'm burnt out, I
Mhm.
do love serving and it's been an honor to serve. But what I'm finding is I'm really tired and I really
Mhm.
need a break and I need someone else to step out. When that is dismissed or ridiculed or mocked, that is telling you what people think of you.
Mm.
And sometimes it can be very hard to know what people think
Mhm.
of us when we have loved on them and served them and tried to support them,
Mhm.
protect and be all of these things. And at that point, we get to say, do I need validation from them? Or do
Mm.
I need to validate myself?
Mm. Oh, that's good.
Right? Because if my validation is coming from other people, what happens when I'm seeking validation for people that don't mean me well?
Mhm.
Right?
Mm.
Then that turns into manipulation. You
I
want to
was
get
just
burned out, be manipulated.
I was just thinking, even some people might take it as a positive thing where somebody might say, "Oh, well, what I'm going to do without you," or "Nobody else can do it like you can do it," or
That's
because.
manipulation.
Mhm.
Right, because if you're seeking validation and a person knows it, people know who to prey on. So even in that,
Mm.
I'm like, when people are give too many compliments, you have to be like, okay, you doing,
Mhm.
I don't know, I don't
Mhm.
know. But like when you're saying I need something, and a person is, but no, because no one makes the cobbler like you, and you're not listening to me. So I don't know if you don't care or you just not hearing me. But like, say it again. This is what I'm saying I need. I
Mhm.
know it's going to have to be no. Someone else is going to have to do that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. But I think we've been programmed to show up a certain way. We've
Mhm.
taken on roles that we've accepted. And that was fine that you took on the role. But again, we get to change and say, I don't really
Mhm.
care for that role anymore.
Mhm.
I'm going to do something a little different for
It's not
myself.
working for me. It's not working for me anymore.
And since it's not working for me, it is my responsibility to do something about it.
Mhm.
When things are not working for us, we cannot wait for someone else to change. We have to be the catalyst for the change when it's not working for us. It is our jobs to protect ourselves.
Mhm.
It is no one else's job to protect us. It is our job to protect ourselves. It's nice if other people do it for us,
Mhm.
but it is our job when we know something is not right. I am tired. I'm isolating. I'm irritated. I'm whatever that thing is. It is our job to become self aware. It is our job to explore.
Mhm.
It is our job to investigate and say, what is going on with me? What am I feeling? What is tiring me out? Is it the job? Is it the people? Is it what
Mhm.
we get to explore and say what it is and speak
Mhm.
up for ourselves, right? As women and men and children. Like even our babies are burnt out because parents are putting so much pressure on these kids to be all the things that they wish they had as a child. These babies are burnt out.
Yes. Yes.
They taking 4 and 5 AP classes and 3 and 4 sports. There is not a night that they're off during the week, and the parents are like, "Good, it keeps them out of trouble." Yeah, but it's keeping something else because these babies are becoming burnt out because they're doing too much, trying to be the perfect everything, trying to be
Mhm.
number one, and we have to go. You know what? If the kid comes and says it's too much, listen.
Yeah.
Let's listen.
Yeah. That's so good. So even as parents, if we're burnt out,
Oh my
we
goodness.
might not even notice that we're doing stuff to burn out our children.
Yeah,
And we're putting so much pressure on them to do the things to stay out the trouble because the world is special. It's a lot happening.
a
And so
lot.
I get that, like, parents really trying to like invest in their kids, and but sometimes it's just too much. I remember my daughter came to me, she was like, "What if I said I didn't want to dance anymore?" And I said, "That's an interesting concept. You
Mhm,
know,
mhm,
sure. So
mhm.
what we gonna do? You
Right,
don't have to dance, but let's think about what's next because you went to whole school to dance, child, and
right.
that's what you said you wanted to do. So, but
Yeah.
like, okay, so in my mind, I'm talking to myself,
Because you've invested a lot too, right? So as parents,
right?
also there is that investment in all of these things that these kids say they want to do. So now
Mhm.
when a kid says, "I may not want to," it's like, "Do you know how much money we spent?" But again, even the conversation sometimes allows them to at least express that I'm tired, and it could be, "Can you take a break?"
Yeah,
And we maybe take a mini trip. Then
yeah,
they might go, "You know what? I'm ready to go back in now. I really just needed a break.
yeah,
I didn't need to quit.
yeah,
I just needed a break."
yeah. And that's what happened. She needed a break. She needed a break. She was doing a lot, and so she was like, "Oh, I think I was just having a moment. I'm fine." And I said, "Thank God."
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what we was about to do, but girl, okay.
Yeah.
But
So
she needed a break, and just recognizing when they also need
and
breaks.
they need a break. And I love that the schools are giving them the mental health day, right? I love that, you know what? You get to stay in your pajamas and watch TV all day, but tomorrow you're going back to school. Tomorrow you're going to go back.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's something about the person feels, okay, they heard me, they saw me, they
Mhm,
understand
mhm,
that I need a moment. And you
mhm.
get to have the moment, but then we don't get to quit on life. We get to get back in there. But the pause is always a powerful thing. To have a day of pause is it can be a beautiful thing.
I'm having a day of pause tomorrow. I was like, I'm not opening my laptop. I'm gonna
Mhm,
do whatever I need to do today. I'm still gonna be in bed by 10. Or
mhm.
if I go later, I'm not gonna wake up to that 8 hours.
Yes,
But it's like I'm not opening my computer tomorrow because like I could legit be at this computer for
all day. Yes. It's
all.
so time consuming. Like when you look at how much time we spend now that when you in the 70s and 80s, people there was time for rest. The world like
Mhm,
things shut down. There is
mhm,
constant stimulus, constant stimulus.
mhm,
You can't even pump gas. One day I was at the gas station on the phone. I know I wasn't supposed to be, but
mhm.
I was like, why is there so much noise? Because it was coming through the phone. They're like, I can't hear you. There's constant noise and chatter
Mm.
all the time. There's constant stimulus. Our
Mhm.
brain does not get a chance to just say, let me reflect on what I've learned today. Let me just be still for a
Mhm.
moment. So
Mhm.
we have to make sure that we give ourselves that time. So when you
Mhm.
said, like, what are some of the things, right, that we want to do to prevent the burnout? Is, self-care is being used right now. And everyone's like, yeah, self-care, self-care. But if we were to ask most people, how much time are you really giving yourself for self-care?
Mhm.
For this word that is almost overused, it's being used for a reason because people still aren't investing in it. And
Mhm.
we'll take our car in for an oil change. We take our car in for the, 600, 1,800, 5,000 miles, but we don't sit our bodies down.
Mhm.
And what you just said, put the phone down, put the stimulus down, just sit in quiet. We're
Mhm.
uncomfortable
Mm.
when we're still in quiet. And that's when amazing things happen. That's
Mhm.
when dreams pop up. That's when solutions pop up. That's when we just take a moment and go, oh, you know what? I haven't talked to so and so in a month or two. Let me call and check on them. So it's embracing quiet, it's
Mhm.
embracing peace, taking just a hot bath,
Mhm.
just going for a walk, looking like when fall came, just looking at the leaves in this area because not everyone has that. Like there are some simple things that are just amazing right outside of our door, and we don't take the time to even observe them because we're busy going, going, going. Right. So deep breathing is powerful. Just breathe. When we go all day, we're panting. We're not even taking deep breaths. We
Mhm.
do deep breathing exercises. People will actually get dizzy. And it's because if you do breathing, like deep breathing where you're inhaling, holding, because they realize they don't even take deep breaths. So they
Mhm.
almost their mind is going, what is all of this beauty coming? What is this? It's oxygen throughout the body. Taking deep breaths, putting
Wow.
yourself on the schedule. We are so proud of, oh girl, look at my schedule. Look at all these things I'm doing. But girl, the one thing you're not doing on that schedule is you, sir. The one thing I don't see on the schedule is you. Have a day. Don't be afraid to look at the schedule for the whole year and say, I'm going to pick 4 weekends out this year that I do nothing. I'm going to pick 1 or 2 days out the quarter that I do nothing. It is all me and what I want to do.
Mhm.
So we're not putting ourselves. So again, when we have these wonderful resources, our time and our energy, our money, all of these things, we don't reinvest in ourselves.
Mhm.
People can be on it financially and they do investments, but we're not investing in ourselves.
Mhm.
To invest in yourselves means some downtime to actually look at what's going on, looking at the schedule, looking at, yeah, there's some things on here from last year that I realized as I go into 2025, I'm gonna start saying no to because it's time
Mhm.
for someone else to learn how to do that and take that on. So the boundaries, right? Setting healthy boundaries, learning to say no to additional responsibilities. If you say yes to some new responsibilities, again, transferring some things. And then it's a beautiful thing to transfer and someone that's been working with you to say, you know what, you are so good at doing this. How about you start now handling this, right? And then empowering them back to the ego. I don't have to do it all because I see such gifting in you.
Mhm.
This is something that you could do really well. So empowering someone else to do some of those things and knowing that usually as you get at the top, you're not doing all the jobs because you're running and looking and managing. And it's hard to manage. Like if you're managing everything, you can't be over here with your head down, right? You have to be in a position where you're able to go, what's going on? Y'all bring me feedback. I'm working on change processes and all of these beautiful things to make sure we're flowing and
Mhm.
working at capacity and fixing anything that's broken and lessons learned. But you can't do that holding on.
Mhm.
Receive new blessings when you're holding on tight to everything. You can't. Right. So part of the boundaries is again saying no, learning what to pass over. And then even having work-life balance. We didn't even talk about caregivers. There are people that are in that caregiver role right now. It's exhausting. Talk about,
Mhm.
right? And who's going to turn their back on family members that have been there for them? Like, and you're
Right.
not giving your mama to anybody to watch. We're not doing that.
Right.
But
Right.
there are resources. There are church members that if your mama's been good to them and made them cakes, they might be willing to come and sit for 2 hours for you to get a nap. You don't even have to leave the house.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
Nap.
Mhm.
I can't. Why can't you go get a nap? Somebody is in the house with them.
Mhm.
Go get a nap and lay down. It'll do you a world of good. If you
Mhm.
have somebody come to that house once a week, different sisters or different family members, can you come just so that I can get away and run an errand? Can you go so I can just get a nap? Little things can make a big impact. Everything doesn't have to be this great big thing. It's little things that we add.
Mhm.
to our time, little help, assistance from people, it can make a world of difference. Again, with support and community, right? And that's part
Mhm.
of the networking. It's not
Mhm.
the network of support. It's trusting. It's the fear of, well, will they think I can't handle it? That's ego. Ego is, will they be scared? Are they gonna think I can't take care of my mama? That's ego. You're taking care of your mama, but you deserve a break.
Yeah.
Both can be true. I can take care of my mom. I can take care of my dad. I can take care of Aunt Mary. I still need a break.
Mhm.
And needing a break doesn't mean that you failed Aunt Mary. It means you're human.
Mhm.
So showing empathy to ourselves as humans,
That
so
is
that
so
we give
good.
ourselves what we need to avoid the burnout. And then
And
talk to, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, and not allowing other people to say what they did.
Yeah.
Right? Like I remember there was somebody was like, well, I had so and so amount of kids and I didn't do this and I didn't do this. And I remember, when my daughter was little, they was like, you travel too much. And I was only traveling like once or twice a year. Like I wasn't like all over the place, but it was like, I never traveled and I never did this. And you need to, you need to, because I never did. And I was like, how much did you like that? Like,
Right.
how much did you? It's almost like sounds like you're resentful now because you didn't do it. I don't need to be resentful for
Mhm.
being like I want to enjoy being a mother. And like there's some people
Mhm.
that don't appreciate the different levels and
Mhm.
that your children go through. Somebody was like, was you devastated when your daughter went to college? I was so close. No, because it was time for her to go to college. Like that was the next phase. Like I
That was
was
what you were raising her to do, right?
right. So I'm not,
Mhm.
and I also had a life, right? Like I was
That part.
while she was doing her thing, I was still doing mine. So it wasn't, but again, it's creating those healthy spaces to be able to, you have a life, you allow your children to have a life so that there isn't the codependency.
And they get to
Um,
see you have the life,
yeah.
right? I
Hmm.
remember when my daughters are 2 years apart. So my oldest was 2 and my youngest was probably like, she was born in March and this was like October, and I went on a girls trip for 3 days. And
Hmm.
my husband, and he wasn't like their dad was babysitting. He's my husband. He lives with them
Right.
every day. He wasn't babysitting. And they're like, you're gonna let him babysit the kids for 3 days? And I was like, he's their father, right? Like, and his thing was, you're tired, you're burnt out. Go somewhere. You're not nursing anymore. Go somewhere and lay on a beach with your friends and have fun, and come back to us in a better mental space, right?
Yes.
But the guilt that women tried to throw on me with this is the one, I would never leave my 5-month-old. Then you don't have to. Then none of your friends invite you on a trip. Don't go. but but don't shame me because that's what I
Yes.
need. And I think it's
Yeah.
also, like you said, that listening to those other voices where
Mm.
we will shame each other as women rather than
Mm.
encouraging each other to get what we need. And
Mhm.
even if it's not what you need, that's okay. Don't
Mhm.
shame another woman because she's making an investment or taking the time to have a social life or hang out with friends. And I'm not talking about extremists. We're talking about just,
Right.
you're going
Just
on a
moments.
quarterly
Yeah.
trip, or you're going on a trip with the girls just to get a break, and you come back to the family much happier and
Mhm.
more healthy.
You said something just now. You was like, just because that's not what you need. Because there's a lot of, we all need different things. We all have different personalities. We
Yes.
all have different love languages. We all give and receive love differently. And so just because you don't need it, like you might be able to sit in your room by yourself with a good book and you walk out replenished. I love the beach. I'm going through withdrawals right now. Right. I
Yeah.
was just saying August, but I feel like I need to go quarterly. I need to be at somebody beach quarterly. So it's time to go back to the beach and hit the waves. All right. Some
Yes.
people hate the beach because they don't like sand or they don't like the water. They want to be in a big city, right? So because you don't need what someone else's needs, don't
No, don't knock it.
oh, like just be like,
Yeah, show less judgment, right? And
mhm,
like, as humans, let's show more love, show more compassion and empathy, and
mhm,
less judgment. Oh,
mhm,
that's what you need. I hope you get what you need. Is that your
mhm,
happy place? And my thing is, if you're mad at someone else for going to their happy place, ask yourself, where is mine? Have your own happy place. It could be at the harbor. It could be at the airport watching planes take off. You just go park and sit. I mean, there's so many ways of being happy, and just a place
mhm.
where you don't have to do anything but sit and exist.
Yes.
Find your happy place.
I love that. You said You hating on somebody else's happy place. What's yours? And that sometimes be the problem. They don't know.
You know,
And so if we could think of, well, I would like to know yourself. Like if we think of takeaways from today's conversation,
mhm,
we've been going for 45 minutes normally. We already have 50 minutes. I feel like there's still so much more that we could talk
so much more.
about.
And
What's your
you think you know yourself, right? And the problem is that knowing who I am, what does that mean? Because who I am today is not who I was at 30. But what I
mm-hmm.
needed at 30. And what happens is we're changing. But again, in the busyness, are we taking the time to even observe that there have been changes, that things that were once a priority no longer are,
Mm-hmm.
that there are new priorities that I haven't addressed because I don't even understand myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay. Like loving myself with even the unknowns and saying, let me explore. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't know your happy place, look up fun things to do and try them.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? You'll figure it out.
You will.
Explore. We think we have it all figured out. We never have it all figured out because at 80, I'm going to need something different. I might not like the same music or the same foods. I might need more, applesauce than I do steak, right? So it's okay. So it's really about exploring yourself and not using the judgment and the expectations of everyone. Be willing to challenge the beliefs of who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing. Be willing to explore and change the expectations. Like I said, expectations can be adjusted.
Mm-hmm.
Deal breakers are deal breakers, but expectations can be adjusted.
Mm-hmm.
Expect how am I supposed to show up? I don't have to show up like that anymore. I have a
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend and she says like when you want if you have to choose between taking a nap and putting up the clothes that you just washed, women are like, but I can't leave the clothes in the basket. What's gonna happen if you leave them clothes in the basket?
Nothing.
So sometimes ask yourself, if I leave these right here, what's gonna happen?
Mm-hmm.
You might have to iron a little harder tomorrow when you iron that shirt, if you iron. But if you take that nap, what's gonna happen?
I love that.
Take that nap, you gonna feel good.
You gonna feel good when you wake up. Okay, so you just said something that I want before we go. I
Yes, ma'am.
want you to talk about. You said deal breakers are different from.
Yeah. Deal breakers are requirements for me.
Can we talk a little bit about? Because I don't think all of us have deal breakers. I know I didn't
Mhm,
until last year,
mhm,
and because I didn't know that I needed deal
mhm.
breakers because I never experienced places where I needed to have deal breakers, or I just I didn't know that I needed deal breakers and I needed them. But then last year I got very clear on deal breakers. So can you talk a little bit about what that looks like and identifying how to when you need a deal breaker or
Mhm.
like
I use them a lot with people when we're talking about back to healthy relationships. The deal
mhm,
breakers are what I call requirements, and these are the things that I need and I'm not willing to compromise on.
mhm,
Right. So for me, abuse is a deal breaker. Like I'm not
mhm,
going to deal with emotional abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse. Because anything that's tearing down my character and tearing down my spirit is going to now have me not really sure of who I am, questioning who I am, questioning how God made me. If the way you're talking to me is not the way He's talking to me, or the way someone that loves me is talking to me, we're not doing that.
mhm,
Right?
mhm,
So it's would you want someone talking to your mother like this? Would you let somebody talk to your grandmother like this? Then why are they talking to you like that? What's your requirement? And what happens is, working in IT, right? You had to have requirements because we had to know when something was going to work right. We had to know when we're giving clients what they asked for.
mhm,
So even in a computer, there's a requirement of I expect it when I turn it on, it's going to come on, but I expect it needs to be connected to the power. I expect like there are certain things that it has to do. It has to turn on. There has to be a screen. You have to be able to either type or move a mouse or move something, right? Otherwise, you're going to sit here and just look at something that doesn't work. And
mhm,
relationships are not going to work if there's no requirements because
mhm,
you're not going to get
mhm,
what you want. So many times we are burnt out because we are investing our resources in something and we never had a requirement or an expectation from what we're supposed to get from it.
mhm,
So we can be in relationships for years, right? Or of service for years. And then one day go, I just noticed that this person never considers me. And I'm always there for them and they're never there for me. And then when you say, well, how long has this been going on? And person goes, oh, it's always been that way.
mhm,
And it's like, yeah, because if you enter anything with no requirement and
mhm,
no expectation, you're going to get what you asked for, which is nothing.
mhm, mhm.
And it will be a situation or a relationship where you have done all this investing and realize that you never required anything from the other person.
Hmm. And then when you have the conversation with the person about what you just described, and they're not receptive to it, then
Mhm.
what happens?
Well, remember, if this is a relationship that has been going on for years,
Hmm.
you're the one that just changed because the person is
Hmm.
only doing what you've always allowed,
Come on.
right? So if you never asked for anything, why are you changing the game now?
Yeah.
Right? A taker's gonna spin it on you back to the manipulation. Well, wait a minute, babe, why you changing? Or what's up, girl? Why you or bruh, why you acting all brand new? Right? Then you get brand new on people.
Hmm.
That means you probably found some awareness. And it probably is going to benefit you. That's why you're brand new. So seriously, it's ask yourself, I'm changing, and I'm the one that realizes something needs to look different, and that's okay.
Hmm.
Okay.
So do you say it like you just said that? Do you tell the person, listen, I'm realizing that I'm changing and I need different things in my life. I have to show up differently for me. And because I have to do that, there's some things that I have to do for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say it just like that.
Mm-hmm.
So for the people that are listening and
Mm-hmm.
you are having trouble with burnout or relationships, creating boundaries, deal breakers, I need you to go listen to this a couple times. Take notes, okay? Because Carla was dropping some gems, and so I need y'all to take some notes and go back. Um, and then you can also reach out to Carla. I don't know if she's taking new clients or not, but listen, right? She can help you walk through the process. But take some notes. Start there. Start re-listen to this because it was really some good things. Because that will be the start of your transition with taking like yourself back, taking your joy back, taking your peace back. Earlier you talked about protecting your peace, and I told Janai the other day, anybody that is out here in the streets that don't bring me peace, I can't go into their space
Yes.
because I am in the moment right now protecting all the peace and joy that I have. And I can't just let anybody in the space because they're not protecting their peace. So they're going to show up as themselves. Like you said, they didn't change. I did.
I changed.
I changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I am enjoying the change.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful space to be, and I know that everybody don't get it, and it's okay, but I love it. I'm getting my 7 to 8 hours of sleep. I'm excited to wake up in the morning. I'm dreaming about the dreams, the things that I'm dreaming about. Like when I tell you I love it here, okay, I love it here, and I want all the people to love it wherever they are when they wake up and dream about great stuff. And so rewind this, listen to it again, take some notes so that you can reflect on it and see how it affects and impacts your life and how you can show up the best person for yourself. Carla, any final words for the people?
Just learn how to love you. Learn
Mhm.
how to love you better than anyone else can other than God, because when you learn how to love yourself, it will show how others people love you because you serve that example, right?
Mhm.
And learning how to love and just being gracious and showing grace to yourself and others.
Mhm.
We're gonna need it. We're gonna need it because the
Mhm.
world is shifting and the world is
Mhm.
not always kind, but we get to be kind. We get kindness is a smile, it's a hello. Just show up as kind, show up as respect. Remember the old school principles? We need
Mhm.
to bring them back. But then also the one thing that they didn't really teach us when we were younger is that you get to love yourself, and that's different than being selfish.
Mhm.
Loving myself and loving mankind means that we all get to win, not I get to push you out the way so that I can get to the finish line.
Ooh.
But we get to help each other get to the finish line, and we can hold hands, we can walk in front or behind each other and pull each other, but we
Mhm.
get to do it together. And for those
Mhm.
that don't want to do it, you get to say you do what you're doing. I'm still going to respect you, but I'm still moving forward. So I'll see you when I see you and keep it moving. But it's just learning to love and respect and show mercy, show grace and mercy with others.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much, Carla.
Thank
This
you
was
for this opportunity.
such a great conversation. Um, for those that haven't registered, register. And when you register, you'll get all the contact information for everybody that has been on the summit over these 11 days. And I will see you all tomorrow. Thank you again so much, Carla. And I will see you all mañana.